So you're thinking about renting in Pensacola, Florida. Well, in this video, we're gonna go over some general statistics, some kind of tips, if you will, and different locations you might wanna consider. Also, stay tuned to the very end because I'm gonna go over a couple of pros and cons on renting versus buying. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. Okay guys, so here we are. We're gonna look at some statistics on renting in Pensacola, Florida. Right off the bat, you're looking at average rent is $14.45, and that's for about 1,000 square foot apartment. So if we go here, this is rentcafe.com. If we compare this to point2homes.com, they've got the same price point for an apartment, $14.45. But if you go over here to single family, that is $2,373. So for an entire home, it's going to be quite a bit more. Now, if we look at Zillow, they kind of average the two of those, and the median price point is $1,800. So that's probably right in between these two here. But let's look at some extra statistics here, some interesting information. The majority of homes, nearly 50%, are going to be between 1,000 and 1,500. So that's your majority. Okay, if you want to have a lot of options, that's what you're looking at a month. If you are less than 1,000, and you have less than 10% of the options in Pensacola, Florida. So it's going to be very tight, very slim. Not saying you cannot find it. Don't want to discourage you. But if you're under 1,000 and you're by yourself, definitely less options here. If you're over 1,500 to 2,000, then you have a majority of it. You have nearly 90%. These two right here make up 85% of all the rentals in Pensacola, Florida. So just some general information to keep in mind. And let's scroll down here. This is what it claims the median household income for a renter in Pensacola is $35,000 a year annually. Maybe you make more, maybe you make less than that. So that's just kind of some interesting information. And down here is the rental vacancy rate. They have it at less than 10%. What that tells me is that rentals don't stay vacant for that long. So somewhat competitive here. Probably not a ton of options all the time. But 6%, there's going to be some options. It just means they don't stay vacant for super long. That's what that information tells us. Average household renter occupancy, 2 people. Essentially 2 people is the average occupying these homes. We scroll down here a little bit further, and that's about it on that. Let's look over here. Here is some different areas. These are kind of random neighborhoods, so this isn't super relevant, but downtown Pensacola, you're looking at a bit more. We're actually going to look at a map in just a moment, and I'll show you some different areas that you might want to consider, and just different price points, different ranges. This is interesting information. How does Pensacola compare to other cities? So Jacksonville, about $100 more a month average, not a tremendous difference. Tampa, much bigger city. So is Jacksonville, but Tampa is a bit higher, quite a bit higher. Miami, obviously, kind of the top notch. Orlando, also higher. St. Pete, right next to Tampa, higher. Mobile's going to be cheaper. Panama City is almost exactly the same. Fort Walton Beach, just a hair more. And then the actual beach, Panama City Beach, of course, is higher because you're right next to the beach. And here's Pensacola again at $14.45. So just some interesting information. Milton is a surrounding area, really close to Pensacola, much cheaper. So it might be somewhere you'd want to consider if you're willing to drive just a little bit further. And then Destin, another beach town not too far away, about an hour, is quite a bit higher. And here is, again, the Zillow median rent. And they're claiming there are 440 available rentals. I would say to take that with a grain of salt. Don't know how much I would believe that. That's kind of what is a pain when it comes to looking for rentals. Is there's not really a one-stop shop to find these places. You can go to Zillow, realtor.com and look them up. But the thing is that all these listings are under different property management companies and or different landlords. So unfortunately, there's not really one person to call and just say, help me find the perfect rental in this range. Sort of like when you're buying a home, you find a realtor who helps you do that. With rentals, it's a little bit more of a chase. I would recommend potentially calling a couple property management companies, giving them your criteria, and just seeing what kind of options they have available. And then maybe they'll have 2 or 3. You can decide if those make sense or not. But yeah, you're definitely going to be kind of chasing them down. And if they're on here for longer than 30 days, give or take, there's a good chance you're going to call and it's not available. They don't always update these super fast, so a little frustrating. Renting can be a bit of a pain in the butt. But let's look at some different areas. This is Pensacola, Florida. This is what we call Gulf Breeze. It's actually a different county, just over the 3-mile bridge. This is Santa Rosa County, really close. So I would tell you to highly consider Gulf Breeze if you have a job here. Don't count it out. Price points might be a little bit higher on average. It's just a nice area. And then again, over another super small bridge is Pensacola Beach. Also a lot higher price point and probably fewer options. There's a lot of short-term rentals here, vacationers, tourists. But this is downtown Pensacola, right here, all the way at the dead end, south, up against the water. This is downtown Pensacola. Right here is what's called East Hill, just to the north of downtown, and it's kind of a sought-after neighborhood, much more single-family homes. You're not going to find many apartments in here. And then the majority of West Pensacola, what we call it, is going to be the cheaper side of town. This is going to be where you find cheaper housing. Location is relative to everything, and obviously it's going to have everything to do with price point. So, you know, some people might say this is somewhat of the less desirable side of town, but it's going to be a lot cheaper. It's kind of spread out over here. And you also have the Navy base right here, the military base. So we get a lot of people stationing here. If you want to be close to this, then you might want to be in West Pensacola or downtown. But again, if you're willing to drive all the way up here, kind of the north top of Pensacola, this is actually University of West Florida right here. You're going to have a lot of competition over here because of the students, so keep that in mind. They typically want to be close. Over here is what we call Beulah. It's kind of a newer exploding area. A lot of new construction. There's a new Publix, and there's also Navy Federal Credit Union, which is one of the largest employers, not only in Florida, but the largest employer in Pensacola. So maybe you're getting a job there. That is right up here. The neat thing about Pensacola is these kind of highways and interstates all connect pretty seamlessly. I-10 runs all the way up and down the heart of Pensacola, so it's pretty easy to jump on here and get downtown. I mean, you can almost get from up here to down here in like 10, 15 minutes. So that's kind of convenient. They did a good job putting in this interstate access here. Over here, again, kind of a decent area, following Scenic Highway up here. And lastly, you might want to consider Pace and Milton. We mentioned Milton appeared to be cheaper average price point. That's a bit of a stretch. You're looking at 40 to 45 minutes from some of these areas over here to downtown Pensacola. But if you work remote or you're willing to drive a little bit of a commute, it certainly might give you some more options available. So that's just kind of some different variations. I get a lot of requests on rentals. And one more thing I wanted to touch on is the hospitals. You might be coming here and being a part of the medical industry or nurse. We have 3 major hospitals. Up here is West Florida, the hospital. Not too far from the University of West Florida. That is West Florida. Right here in the middle is Sacred Heart, or it's also called Ascension Sacred Heart, and that's right next to Cordova Mall. And Baptist Hospital used to be right here, technically still is, but they just built a huge new hospital, and it should be opening any day now. It's pretty much complete. That is right here in the heart of Pensacola, right off I-10 and Brent. So that will be right here. Again, Sacred Heart and West Florida. Those are the three major hospitals. But yeah, those are kind of, that's the location. That's Pensacola spread out. As far as looking at a few examples, it just depends. Let's just pull up a couple here. You've got a 2-bed, 1-bath, 1440 square feet. 1440 a month, 775 square feet. Let's see here. Let's zoom in a little bit. Price points are all over the place. Under $1,000, 1-bed, 1-bath. You're probably sharing a room inside this home, but it looks like it would be completely separated. 550 square foot, not huge, kind of like a studio type of deal. 2-bed for 1.7. You could maybe share with a roommate. 1.3, 1-bed, 1-bath. If you're over 2,000, it looks like you're getting some more homes. 3-bed, you probably have roommates here or a family. But just giving you some ideas. Again, over here you're going to find some cheaper homes. $825 for a 2-bed. That's the thing about rentals. You're just going to be kind of chasing it down. Utilities included. That's another thing. They're always different. A lot of places do include utilities, but some don't. So you're going to want to ask those questions. But yeah, this is the rental market here in Pensacola. Just wanted to kind of give you guys an idea. By the way, if we put in 1,000, boom, 14 results. So it's going to be tough. 21 if you zoom out. Just changing it to $1,250, and now you have 77 results. So it makes a big difference. Obviously, if you can go up in price point, but this is the market in Pensacola. Rentals have gone up so much over the last few years. I think everywhere across the country. It's a pain, but there's some pros and cons to renting versus buying. That's actually what I'm going to touch on right now. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. So let's talk about some of the pros and the cons of buying versus renting. Look, buying and renting, one may be better for your situation. Buying's not for everybody. One of the major pros about renting is that obviously you have no liability. You have no real upkeep, right? You never have to worry about how old the roof is or if the HVAC is functioning. You have your landlord for that. Most of the time, you don't even have to worry about mowing your lawn. So it's kind of a peace of mind aspect. That's a huge pro when it comes to renting. Now, there are condos and townhomes where that's a very similar thing, where you could buy and pay a condo fee or an HOA assessment and then have that same kind of mindset and lifestyle where you don't really do anything. But again, that's a major pro of renting, is that you don't have to do anything or worry about upkeep, right? And then the other pro with renting is that if you know you're not going to be in a situation for very long, maybe you're going to have to move every year or even 6 months, then renting might be the situation for you. Okay, you don't want to get strapped down, you're not sure if you like a location, you got a new job, etc., etc. Then again, renting might be the right choice, absolutely. But there are some cons as well, and there's some major pros to buying. Obviously, buying, you're going to be building your net worth. You're going to be paying your own mortgage and not someone else's, not paying the landlord's mortgage. And so in turn, you're building equity. Every payment you make, you build up that difference in value versus what's owed. That's what we call equity, which gives you flexibility. Most wealth has been created through real estate. So if you live somewhere, time goes by, a few years, and before you know it, you have a lot of equity built up in the home. If you sell that home, you cash out with that equity. Plus, real estate over the test of time typically has always appreciated. That's been a major issue with people that are renting, is they feel like they can't afford houses because the prices have just gone crazy. So over time, real estate always appreciates. Yes, there have been crashes, there have been dips, but in the long term, it's always going to go up. So on top of you paying it down, it's also gaining in value. You can take out a line of credit against the house. Again, it builds your net worth. And then alternatively, you can rent that place out. So instead of selling it and buying a new one, ideally, you rent that out, you become the landlord, buy a new home, and you also now have a portfolio. You're building some passive income. You have tenants. It's a great way to build wealth and, again, passive income, work towards retirement, etc. So these are just kind of a few pros and cons, but I wanted to talk about what it takes to become a homeowner. Maybe you can't think that you can buy. Maybe you think it's kind of out of the scope of reality. Well, the truth is everyone can partake in what's called the first-time homebuyer program. All you have to do is have typically about a 640 credit score, give or take. That's not a rule of thumb, but that's kind of a rough idea, and a consistent job. And you can qualify as a first-time homebuyer. What that means is that you can buy a home with as little as 3% down. Just in simple terms, on a $100,000 house, that's $3,000. You can do the math, but it's not as much as you may think. In some situation, it's maybe a little bit more than first month's rent or security deposit. The neat thing is that you actually re-qualify for the first-time homebuyer program every 3 years. A lot of people don't know that, or you think, it's a one-time thing. That's not the case. You can re-qualify. And on top of this, you can have a good real estate agent get the sellers to pay all the closing costs. That's the extra fees that the lenders typically charge out of pocket. So you have the sellers pay the closing costs, 3% down, and you are a homeowner on your way to building net worth, passive income, etc., etc. So just some pros and some cons. If you're thinking about buying versus renting, they both have ups and downs. I hope this video has been helpful in a sense, maybe clarified some questions you may have had. My name's Levi Fortner. I'm a local realtor, and I work right here in Pensacola, Florida. If you like this video, you enjoy this content, and you want to stay up to date with everything eat, sleep, play, and real estate right here, subscribe to the channel, like this video, and I'll see you guys soon. Take care.